Hi, my name is Ellie Sutton.
And I'm Lillian Clark. Now we're going to talk about the article Understanding the Power of Latinx Families to Support the Academic and Personal Development of Their Children by Liliana Grosso Richens, Holly Hanson Thomas, Victor Lozada, Susan South, and Mary Amanda Stewart.
Perfect. And we're going to talk about the summary portion. So this article focused a lot like the other article on the 6 different types of community cultural wealth. And these included they especially highlighted the aspirational capital as one of the most prominent forms that the Latinx families use to support their children's academic careers. So trying to really build upon those dreams and those hopes for the future to motivate their children and to help them become better people. This article also focused a lot on about the importance of teachers and knowing their students' backgrounds and cultures. And they really highlighted this because knowing a student's background and culture, they're able to help their students more. They're able to understand where the parents are coming from and why they do what they do, or maybe don't do what they do. Bilingual teachers, they are very specific in focusing on and activating families' cultural wealth. And this was an interesting thing because it wasn't something that just came naturally. It was something that the teachers had to be very intentional about in thinking of ways to involve the parents and to reach out to them and do things like that, because it isn't something that comes naturally. It's something that needs to be put in a lot of time and effort to build those relationships and to understand who people are. And another thing that was really neat about this article was that the common stereotype that Latinx families are unattached or don't necessarily care for their students was also debunked, because one of the parts talked about how they have very high expectations for their children. And this can come in different forms, whether it's they're hoping that they do well in their homework or doing well when they have to switch from bilingual classes to monolingual classes, where they'll speak 2 different languages in immersion classes versus just going just straight into English. And so they were just really motivating their students to do their best in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this article kind of wants to, like she said, debunk the previous ideas that I guess the perspective of teachers to blame parents for their students underachieving or falling behind academically. So this study kind of really focuses on the ways that parents are actually helping them, and how we can celebrate and recognize those efforts, and kind of like she was talking about, collaborate with parents to enhance those efforts and really kind of take advantage of all of those good things that these parents are doing to help their children. So something that I notice is like a pattern is a lot of the times Latino parents have really high expectations and lots of different things that help their children to succeed and push harder to acquire, I guess, like a skill. So they have really high academic expectations. They expect their children to do well in school and to do well on homework, on tests, get good grades. And those expectations really help, I guess, motivate children and also provide like the structure at home that students need to succeed and do the work that is required. And then parents also have really high linguistic expectations. They expect their children to do well learning English and assimilating to this American culture. But then they also have high expectations that their children will maintain the native language and be able to create those cultural connections and communicate with their family, like going forward for the rest of their lives. And then the parents also help by forming good relationships with teachers. They put forth effort to ask questions, to respect what teachers are saying, and to enforce, like, I guess, the advice that teachers give. So as teachers, we can be really responsive to that and recognize that these parents are trying. They're trying to make good relationships with us despite the language barrier, and we need to recognize that and be a source of help instead of a barrier.
Okay, now we're going to be talking about the praxis portion. So I really loved in the article the story that talked about how reading a book about Frida Kahlo, one of the students was able to share how she wanted to be an artist. And I love this because I think that students should be able to be exposed to as many career paths as possible. This is something that is often limited in schools, I feel like, where they only know like the 5 answers of teacher, doctor, astronaut, like all those things. And so that's something that I really want to help my students, no matter what age they are, what grade they're in, or what grade I'll be teaching. I want them to feel like they can, that they have all these different doors open, and they can study all these different types of careers and career paths, just to keep those doors and their minds open. I think this is awesome. I also want to be able to do this to encourage them as they go throughout this process, to know that no career path is bad or unacceptable or things like that, but that they always have someone believing in them.
And then what I want to do is make sure that I am offering myself as a resource to help parents, instead of seeing parents as like a resource to me, because I think that's a good way to do a bad thing and kind of start saying that parents aren't helping enough, or they're not doing enough to help me as the teacher, when really I should be the one as a teacher trying to help and support the parents and their families. So I guess I just want to change my perspective and see myself as a resource for them instead of seeing them as a resource for me. And I think that this will be really good because I want to avoid that mindset that, like, I guess that deficit mindset that parents are bad and that their students are bad and there's not really anything we can do about that. And instead, if I see myself as, I guess, a part that can help and be the difference, then I can make a change by being the resource and being a helper, instead of seeing that all that I am doing is like the best that I can be, and all the problems are everyone else's fault. I want to recognize that there are difficulties, but I should be part of that solution instead of blaming it on other people.
Okay, now we will be talking about the reflection portion. Overall, I really like this article as well. I found it very interesting, and I love the connection to the first article for this section, and just the explanation about the 6 cultural community wealth, and just a little bit more in-depth examples with each of those. This was a new concept to me, so I really enjoyed learning about it.
Yeah, I also really liked it. I liked the perspective of trying to see what parents are already doing and focusing on that positive. Because I think a lot of the time we do focus on the bad and the difficulties, which is good because it builds our compassion, but also we need to, I guess, develop respect and admiration for all of the good things that this community is doing and our minority communities are doing to overcome their difficulties and support their families and the people that they love despite the hard things that are happening in their world and in our society.